Hello and welcome to my most anticipated releases for the first half of 2025. Every year I feel like I can't believe it's a new year, but I can't believe it's a new year, and so with a new year comes new books. I am always on the hunt for new release books. I love anticipating a book coming out and then picking it up when it is out and reading it. It's just like one of the most fun feelings to always have a book to look forward to. I really just love that. And so we're going to be talking about all the books that I'm really excited are releasing in 2025. So I'm going to be structuring this maybe a little bit different to how I have done them in the past, where I would literally list out like any book that I had an iota of interest in. But today I'm really only going to be talking about some books that have caught my interest that I'm thinking about maybe buying down the line, and the books that I have actually pre-ordered. So if you see on my channel, I have been starting what I call my TBR cart diaries, where I try to read down my physical TBR, aka on my TBR cart. I started that off by going through all the books that I bought in 2024 and I didn't read, and there's a decent amount. So part of my effort to not do that anymore is to really try and like read the books that I'm purchasing, which means that I'm really going to be trying to purchase with intention and purchasing the books that I really think that I'm going to be getting to soon after purchase. So when I have books that I have like my eye on but that I don't necessarily want to buy right away, either I'm going to be like waiting for reviews, I have like other books in the series that I need to like catch up on first. You know, I'll talk about the reasons like as I go through them, or like maybe I'll read them another way. Like I want to read it but like on audiobook, so I don't need to like pre-order the book. I want to read it but, you know, like on my Kindle or something like that. So I'm kind of going to go through that section first and then go into like my pre-order section of like, yes, these are the books that I am buying, that I want for my collection, that I am hoping I know my taste enough that I'm going to want to keep these in my collection forever. Because at the end of the day, like, I'm still going to be buying books that I don't 100% know that I'm going to like them, because I'm just so sold on the concept, even though I am trying to be very intentional with my book buying. So it's a balance, right? But most of these I feel like I either like love the author, love the series, like just have like a very strong inclination that I'm going to love it. But most of these I think are from authors that I have kind of already read from before. But we'll actually see when we go through the list. So we're going to go month by month in this first section, which is books that I'm like maybe thinking about reading, or books that I'm thinking about getting that I'm excited to come out, but I'm not necessarily going to be like pre-ordering and buying a physical copy. Oh, also to mention, my TBR cart like rules for myself are, if I have pre-ordered a book, then obviously yes, I'm going to be buying it that year, but I'm really going to be trying to stop buying like just other random books, and then this way I have like a very like solid like, okay, these like 3 to 4 books a month, and there's really only like 3 or 4 a month. Well, some months got a lot of releases, but for the most part there's like maybe 3 to 4 a month that I am purchasing. And so it's like a pretty like, you know, it's like controlled. I know what's coming. I'm like very aware of it. Like I'm not just buying books all the time willy-nilly. And then for other books that I'm thinking about maybe buying, if I am in the middle of the series and I'm actively reading the series, and then, you know, to keep reading the series and I'm going to read the next book next, okay, then I can buy that next book in the series. Otherwise, I am doing my backlist wishlist game, which is however many books I read off of my physical TBR, I can then go and buy like a backlist book. I don't know if I'm including my 2025 books in that, or if I'm just including my like all the books that I've already like talked about that are on my 2024 bought TBR, but we'll see. I'm gonna do like a fun journal spread for it that I haven't done yet at this time, but I think I'm gonna make it like a game, so it'll be more fun. And then that way, again, like I'm not trying to not buy books anymore. Like look at me. I'm not trying not to buy books anymore, but I'm just trying to make sure if I'm adding a book to my collection that it has a purpose there, that I have an emotional attachment to the story enough that I'm going to want to keep it on my shelves, or that, you know, one day I would maybe want to go and reread it. So that is my thinking behind everything I'm doing. All right, enough of that. Let's get into what you all came here for, which are my anticipated releases. Alright, so let's start off with some of the books that I'm interested in coming out in 2025, but that I haven't necessarily pre-ordered. Starting in January, the first book that I have my eye on is Give Me Butterflies by Jillian Meadows, and this one is pitched for fans of STEM romance and Allie Hazelwood, and I'm like, yes and yes. So checkbox. I have the ARC on NetGalley, and again, because it's an author that I haven't read from, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna try and read it digitally before, you know, spending my money on it. It's about two curators of a science museum. I just love that. I love science museums. Like, in general, I really need to go to the Museum of Science in Boston. I don't know why I haven't gone yet. Anyways, I love science museums. Anything STEM romance, I'm willing to give a chance, so I'm really, really excited to read this one digitally. Okay, next is Kingdom of Claw by Demi Winters, which comes out on February 4th. This was a series that was indie published and is now trad published. Sometimes when that happens, they will keep the books on Kindle Unlimited. This series unfortunately got off of Kindle Unlimited. However, I'm going to try and see if I can read at least the first book digitally through my library before I decide to purchase it, because I'm turning over a new leaf, okay? I'm not just purchasing it because I think it sounds good. Like, I want to make sure it's a series that I am going to want to like spend my money on. So this is a Norse inspired book. The first one is Road of Bones, which is already out, and then the second one comes out on February 4th. So basically, Scylla's father is killed, and his last words are, travel the Road of Bones and go to the Shield House. So she then sets off on this mission. I've also heard it like involves her sister and has some like family dynamics at play, and again, it's like a Viking inspired world, which we haven't seen too much of, but I think it's gonna become more of like a trend because I've seen more pop up. Okay, next is Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli, which is the second book in this duology, the first one being The Heartless Hunter. Definitely, I don't want to buy this book until I buy the first book, and the first book I definitely think I'm going to like it, but again, this is going to go on my backlist, wish list, and will be a book that I will like pick up once I've, you know, read down enough of my physical TBR. So in this world, we're following Rune, who is a witch, and she's like a vigilante witch going against the witch hunters, and then of course her love interest Gideon is a witch hunter, and they kind of, I think, are both like spying on each other, but they don't know that the other person is spying on them, and it's supposed to be like court intrigue, witches, that kind of all like that fun stuff, and it is YA. But a lot of people that I trust their taste have really liked this book, so I'm really hopeful that I will like this one. Again, it might be one I pick up on my backlist wish list, or maybe I get it through my library. I should be better about actually like utilizing my library. And this sequel is out on February 18th, and it is a duology, so this will be like the last book in the series. Honestly, I love a good duology. I feel like it kind of gets rid of, in a trilogy, sometimes that middle book can like dip, but a duology, it's so neat. I feel like you can extend the story past one book, but it doesn't drag. I like duologies a lot. Okay, the next one is I Got Abducted by Aliens and Now I'm in a Rom-Com by Kimberly Lemming, which I am still contemplating just buying this book outright because I love alien romance, and I love when it's like a fantasy rom-com, so this just sounds like it's going to check all of my boxes. Kimberly Lemming wrote the Mead Mishap series, which are That Time I Got Drunk and blah blah blah. This one's That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. This is on my TBR cart right now, so I'm going to read it very soon. So once I start reading from her, you know, she might get pre-ordered, but because I haven't read anything from the author yet, I'm refraining from actually pre-ordering. But again, it is a book on my mind, and I actually do think I might have this one digitally from NetGalley as well, which I'm very terrible at reading my NetGalley books, I'm so sorry. So I could also just read it that way, and then if I really like it, pick up the book after. Moving on to March, we have Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven, and this is about like a couple where in every life they are fated to kill each other, which like I just really, really love that concept. And the first edition has these really pretty like gold sprayed edges. Again, this is a book that, because I haven't read from this author before, I am going to wait to see like what the reviews say, and then see if I want to pick it up like from my library, or if I just want to buy it outright if like the reviews are so convincing. So it's kind of like a wait and see, but I am very like intrigued by this title, and I just like love the thought of like star-crossed lovers. Okay, this next one is I Am Made of Death by Kelly Andrews, and this one is out on March 4th, and it's about a ballerina and her bodyguard, and it's a like horror, YA horror. I love listening to horror on audiobook. Kelly Andrews has 2 other horror books that I like have queued up in my library. Again, like if I'm going to listen to an audiobook, because I don't listen to them, like I have to kind of force myself to listen to them, like, and I'm very slow, but when I'm like reading like a horror or a thriller on audiobook, I speed through those things. So I've kind of just realized I need to prioritize those kinds of books on audio, because my other kinds of books I don't really like vibe with audiobooks, but like horror and thriller, yes. And I have a lot of like YA horror books that I actually really, really want to read on audio. So I am going to get this one from my library when it comes out, and I'm so excited. Next on March 4th is Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. I mean, if you don't know who John Green is in the bookish space, what you doing? What you doing? He's been around forever. He's like the YA prodigy of like the 2010s, you know, The Fault in Our Stars was a movie. He's a hit. But anyways, now he's moved on to writing like nonfiction essays, and I read his last nonfiction essay collection, The Anthropocene Reviewed, and it's just like very interesting like perspectives on like topics just about like human nature and a little sciencey, a little like history, and I just really enjoyed his essays. So when this book comes out, I do also want to listen to it. I think this would be, again, like a good one to pick up on audio, and I'm hoping that I have a fun time because I had a really fun time with his first essay collection. On March 11th is Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I bought the first book, Spark of the Everflame, and I think the second book just came out in December, and the fourth book, I don't know when exactly it's going to come out. I'm assuming maybe later in 2025, but it's a little bit different because the series went from indie to trad, and I'm just not pre-ordering the third book because I want to read the first book and make sure I want to continue on with the series before I spend money on the second and the third book. So I think when I pick up the first book, if I'm seeing if I'm liking it or not, then I would buy the second and the third, and then eventually the fourth. And I'm hoping I will like it because I did already buy the first book. And this one is about DM, and she's like a human healer, and she gets embroiled in a plot with the gods. And that's all I really know, but like people really, really like it. They say it's really good politics, really good world building, so I'm sold. Next is The Shadow Bride by Shelby Mahurin. Shelby Mahurin wrote Serpent and Dove, which is a YA romantasy trilogy that I actually really, really adore. And she made this spin-off series called The Scarlet Veil, and this one is following Celie, who was a side character in the first book, and she is a huntress and gets embroiled in a plot with the vampires, which I love. I think this is only going to be a duology. I do think that I maybe should prioritize reading this one before the second book comes out. That way, because I did get the Barnes & Noble exclusive for the first one, so I would like to pick it up for the second one if I do like this series. So maybe, you know what, maybe I'm just gonna sneak her onto the TBR cart because there are quite a few books that fall into that category of I should read the first book to make sure I want to spend my money on the second book. But I've loved everything that Shelby Mahurin has already. I'm kind of like convincing myself to pre-order this book. Anyways, I've loved everything that she's put out, so I'm assuming I'm gonna love that one as well. Next is A Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Because Emily Henry is so popular, she is getting her books published in hardcover, and I have like a paperback romance collection, so I pretty much just wait until a year after to get her books in paperback. So Funny Story, which was her 2024 release, should probably be getting like a paperback soon, and then when that paperback is out, I'll be buying that Emily Henry book, and then I'll be buying the next one like the year after when it comes out in paperback. I really hope hardcover romances are not a trend that's continuing. I enjoy having my paperback collection, and I'll be mad if I have to like wait a year for all of my favorite romance books. I don't mind if I do like a hardcover alongside a paperback, but I need my paperback romances. And this one is out on April 22nd. Okay, next is Broken Souls and Bones by LJ Andrews. This one is out on April 29th. And this is another like Viking Norse inspired romantasy from her. She has two series. The one that's really popular, I feel like really took off, is The Ever King, which is a pirate, like a Viking pirate book, and it was really good. I read it and enjoyed it, and I think that's like an actual like second gen of her original like Viking Fae series, which I would eventually like to read, and then now this is her first one in the traditionally published world. I don't think it's like connected to her other work. Ooh, I did like what I read from her. I definitely want to read more before just spending my money willy-nilly, but I did get a copy of this on NetGalley, so I think that might be the way that I check out this book. Next is What Sleeps Within the Cove by Harper L. Woods. This is the What Lies Beyond the Veil series. I read the first two, and I liked it enough that I definitely want to continue with the series, but I don't know if I like it enough that I want to buy the physical books. These books got picked up and are getting republished, and I don't necessarily love like the neon edges, and I didn't love the series enough to want to, that I'm like scrambling to buy it physically. So again, it is a book that I think I'm going to read, but probably just on my Kindle. Next, we have the next Taylor Jenkins Reid's books called Atmosphere, and that's out on June 3rd, and it has to do with NASA and astronauts. And I usually read Taylor Jenkins Reid's books on audio, so again, that's probably would be the way that I would pick this one up, but you know, it's Taylor Jenkins Reid. She's like really the only, like, maybe one of the only authors that I like tread into the like lit fic, general fic arena for. I don't typically read a lot in those genres. Okay, next is A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena. I'm so close to just spending my money and cover buying this book because do you see this cover? Do you see this cover? It is so stunning. But again, it's a debut author. I definitely want to maybe wait for reviews. I think I did request it on NetGalley, so we'll see if I get it digitally. But it's beautiful. It's stunning. It's really stunning. It's really hard not to buy it, but you know, turning over a new leaf. And this one is about a disabled dancer who is accused of murder and then thrust into a plot between rival royals. Oh my god, it just sounds so good. You know what? I might end up breaking and I might end up pre-ordering it. But for now, you know, it's on my watch out list because I just love it. But the thing is, at least with this one, if there's not anything like exclusive about it, like there's no need to rush. Like I can wait. Whereas if there are books that I think they are going to sell out and they seem like something that I'm going to like and they have an exclusive edition, I'm more willing to just buy it blindly because I get nervous. Realm of Thieves by Karina Halley, and this one's out on June 10th. I think this is her first romantasy that is going to be traditionally published. She has some like other romance books that are traditionally published, but she's mostly indie, and I've read some of her, like a decent amount of her books, that I'm definitely excited for this one. And it's about two thieves vying for dominance in the illegal dragon egg trade, which sounds like fun. And this one I actually already do have an arc for on NetGalley, so again, I gotta utilize the resources that are available to me. Next is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston, and this is like the next in her series of books that are all like kind of magical realism romances, and I think I'm really gonna like them. I have the first two, which are Dead Romantics and 7 Year Slip, so I need to read those first before I continue buying those books without reading any of them. And I think this one involves obviously music in some way. And then next is A Treachery of Swans by A.B. Porachek, who wrote Where the Dark Stand Still, which gorgeous cover as well. This author gets very gorgeous covers. I haven't read that one yet, but I do own it. So when I read that one, then I'll know if I want to continue buying from this author. But this one is like a sapphic Swan Lake retelling. And this cover just, oh my god, it's so beautiful. So definitely either I'll be checking it out on audio or maybe picking up the physical book if I read Where the Dark Stand Still and decide that I really like this author and want to continue buying from them. Okay, so those are all the books that I'm kind of like, I have my eye on that I maybe want to buy in 2025. But again, we're going to stick to the rules, the book buying rules, and be good little book buyers and wait and see. Just wait and see. I'm not saying I can't buy them, but I'm just gonna wait and see and make sure that it's truly a book that I want to be spending my hard-earned coin on. And now we're gonna go the books that I'm so sure I'm gonna love that I did already spend my hard-earned coin on. Okay, let's start with January. And within the month, I'm not going in any particular order because that's a lot of effort, but you'll see that these are just about maybe like 3 to 4 of my top anticipated books for each month that I know I'm gonna love, spend my money on. So first up is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, which is the third book in the Imperium. Here is my paperback copy of Fourth Wing, just hold up for reference. And everybody is anticipating this because if you read the end of Iron Flame, you were shook to your core. This is also going to probably be a pretty pivotal time in the series because it is the third book and there's going to be 5 books total. So I'm really interested to see where Rebecca Yarros takes the plot next. And I am a basic romantasy girly and proud of it. I am like all the other girls that also love Fourth Wing. It's addicting. It's so much fun. We're in this world following Violet Sorrengail, who's supposed to be a scholar and ends up going to dragon riding college, except she is like disabled and she has what is very similar. Obviously, it doesn't have the same name, but in the fantasy world, she has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which just means she gets injured very easily. But she still overcomes all that to become a badass dragon rider. And also Xaden, who's supposed to be her enemy, but he's also really hot. So, book boyfriend goals. Onyx Storm is out January 21st, and you bet I will be reading it as soon as it comes out. Let me know if you want to see a dedicated reading vlog. I do have one for Iron Flame that I never posted, but I think I'm going to edit that and post it soon as well. Next is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Iru, and I specifically pre-ordered the Barnes & Noble edition because I liked the sprayed edge, and this is a book that I feel like was very, very popular when it was indie published, and so I'm excited that this author got a trad pub deal. I feel like that is kind of the trend these days where like a romantasy will get very popular in the indie space and then the publishers scoop it up and give it a trad deal, and it's interesting. It's interesting. Definitely also just there are more romantasies that are just straight up being published as well. But I'm excited for all these authors to kind of get their big break because I do think getting distributed in what do they call it, in like physical form, like the physical books, to stores can give you like a broader audience and definitely will make the author more money long term, and you know, just want to support them in their careers. We're following Alara, who has kind of been cursed because she has this prophecy that she will fall for a star and it will kill them both. And then she's forced to flee into like the neighboring kingdom for safety. And basically her enemy is training her. So it's kind of got like enemies to lovers, celestial magic. I love celestial magic. I feel like celestials and florals are like my two aesthetics. So I either have things that have like stars and moons on them or like flowers. So it fits in my favorite aesthetic. So I'm very excited. People have said that they really love this book because obviously it's been out for a while, and yeah, I kind of read it on Kindle Unlimited first, but I'm so convinced that I'm gonna love it that I did pre-order it. So, you know, there are just some that I have enough of a sense of my own taste that I think I'm gonna buy it and love it, and most of the time I'm pretty right, so I think that's good. Next is The Night Is Defined by Chloe C. Peñaranda, and that is the sequel to The Stars Are Dying. This is literally maybe one of the most gorgeous books that I got this year, and again, I am going to try and read this book relatively soon so I can read it before the sequel comes out. That way I can make sure that this is a series that I definitely still want to be collecting, but based on aesthetics alone, yeah, I mean, I do have it pre-ordered again because I don't want it to go out of print if I don't pre-order it. Oh my god, look at this hardback, it's so pretty. And I think the first two books were out indie, and the third one might be the first one coming out with Trad Pub. And again, this is another celestial themed one, which I see a theme and I love it. So we're following Estrella, who's kind of a prisoner in her own mind. I think her memories are very cloudy. I'm interested to see if I like the amnesia trope in this one. I don't hate it, but it needs to be done well. And she has a bargain with this being called Night, and he promises to keep her safe, but she knows that she cannot trust him. I said, it just sounds like something I'm going to eat up, and oh my god, there's pictures in here. Like, are you kidding? If the I mean, if I don't end up getting to this one before the second one comes out, based on all of just like the physical package of the book itself, I'm not gonna cancel my pre-order, but I do definitely want to read this one relatively soon. Okay, next is Barbarian's Heart by Ruby Dixon on January 28th. This is part of the Ice Planet Barbarian series. Basically, a bunch of women get abducted, and then their abductors kind of drop them on this planet called Not Hoth, or that's what they call it, because, you know, based on Star Wars, it's like Hoth, but it's not Hoth. Anyways, and it's just like funny and just like really cute, and it took BookChalk by storm, and they are traditionally publishing all the books, and I will buy all of them. This one might be the last one that I actually read on my Kindle, so I do need to catch up again so that I am not behind, although I wouldn't mind actually reading it physically when I have it in my hands. But I definitely want to get through all of the Ice Planet Barbarians books because they're just so much fun, and they just bring me a lot of comfort. So I've been really enjoying collecting this series. Moving on to February, first we have Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, aka Wet, like W-H-E-T. And we're following two divers who I think end up in a kind of like friends with benefits situation. I don't know if I want to know like too much more besides that, because it is Ali Hazelwood. I will be buying it and I will be reading it. I'm almost caught up on all of her books. I just need to read, okay, I'm not almost caught up because I still have like 3 of her books that I need to read, which is Not in Love, Check and Mate, and then the like Spotify novella that came out on audio. So I'm a little bit behind on her, which is kind of sad because I've like always been keeping up with her releases. But yeah, when I get this one, I'm excited. It has this very cool sprayed edge, but still in paperback. So like, thank you, book publishers. And I'm like, people are reading early copies and they're like, oh my god, gagged. This is like the best Ali Hazelwood book ever. So I have very high expectations. I did read Bride, which was one of her 2024 releases, and I loved it. It was so good. So like, I'm pretty much gonna trust Ali Hazelwood to write anything at this point. Also, I've been going around being like 3 to 4. Okay, some of these months I have like 5 to 6, so don't judge me. Okay, next, Iron and Embers by Hélène Cherrier, and I ordered this stunning Blackwell's edition, which I like have not really seen advertised, but I just stumbled upon it and I was like, oh, hello, you're coming home with me. Because this series and the rest of the Blood and Steel series has gotten picked up Trad Pub in the UK and Australia, but not in the US. So I don't know if like eventually it will become Trad Pubbed, but I saw this sprayed edge copy and I was like, well, I have to buy it. And this is the spin-off to the Blood and Steel series where we were following Thea's sister Ren, who is an alchemist, and her grumpy bodyguard Torge, who we meet in the original series. I will say you probably need to read the first series first, but read it because it's so good. But I'm really excited. Hélène Cherrier like just does such a good job of like really like fully deep diving into everything surrounding the character's identity. So like Thea really wanted to train to be a warrior, and we really got to see like the beginning of her journey and like dig into how she achieved that. She just didn't wake up one day and was just like this magical girl with all of these fighting abilities. Like you really go through and see like how she trained and how she grew. So I'm hoping we're kind of getting a similar kind of exploration of what it means to be like an alchemist in this fantasy world, because I've always kind of said like alchemists in fantasy are the closest thing to scientists. So give it to me, I want it. And I really loved Ren's character, and some of the banter between these two characters we've already got in the original books. I am sad. I am waiting. I am so excited. I probably will read this book like on my Kindle the day it releases because I need it. Helen Scherer definitely solidified her spot as an autobi author for me this year, so I love her. All right, next is Wooing the Witch Queen by Stephanie Burgess, which has this really pretty sprayed edge. This is one I've been like wavering back and forth. I did place the pre-order. If I become unsure, I can always cancel the pre-order and then like buy it again later. But it is pitched as a fantasy rom-com, which, if you know, I've really been like really trying to like search for those types of books, and I think they are becoming more popular. I really kind of like became obsessed with them when I read Assistant to the Villain, and there's not like too many out there. So because of that, I was like, I'm gonna pre-order this. So we're following Saskia, who's basically successfully overthrown her uncle, and she's a sorceress, and she just like wants to spend time doing spells and alchemy, which kind of sounds like, again, like she's a little bit like a witch scientist. So that she doesn't have time to like organize the magical library, so she hires this wizard to do it for her, and of course he's hot and he's sweet and a little dirty. Okay, listen, I love a shadow daddy as much as the next person, but I am intrigued to start to see like a different archetype of male main character to emerge. Just something a little bit different. So if you say shy and sweet, I'm interested. Okay, next is Kiss of the Basilisk by Lindsay Straub, which was originally indie published under Split or Swallow. And I've heard it's just the most bananas, knock your socks off, crazy smutty time. And I was like, add to cart. And we're following this girl who I think has to like go through some trials or whatever to be with the prince, and she has to learn how to seduce him. So this basilisk is going to teach her how to seduce the prince, and of course he's hot. So it's just like supposed to be crazy. And I was like, that sounds like a good time to me. And the special edition, also very pretty, so I was like, I'm gonna. Next is Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher, which this book has been out for a long time. And again, this is T. Kingfisher. People have suggested to me over and over again when I say I want fantasy rom-coms. So I'm like pretty solidly sure that I'm going to love this one. And it's basically about this woman who grabs a sword off the wall and it transforms into a man. And that's all I need to know. I know the characters are older and that it's just a beloved book, and I really loved the special edition as well, so she's coming home with me. Okay, moving on to March. Firstly, on March 4th, we have The Rag Picker King, which is the sequel to Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. I have read pretty much every Cassandra Clare book, except I think I need 2 more in the Shadowhunters world, which I will get to eventually. That's part of, you know, reading out my physical TBR Cart Diaries journey. And I did get tickets to the signing to see her in March, so I definitely am going to try and prioritize this book before then. And this is her first foray into adult. And we're following Kel, who becomes the body double of the prince, aka called the Swordcatcher. And then we have Lynn, who is a healer, and she kind of like breaks the rules to heal the sick, and they kind of all get embroiled in a plot together. So I love Cassandra Clare. I think she has really interesting character work, and I'm intrigued to see what she can do in a new setting that's not Shadowhunters, because until then everything else she's written has been Shadowhunters. Also, this is a portrait of one of the characters. I think we kind of look alike. What do you guys think? That's why I want to read this. I'm like, I hope I like this character because I low-key kind of look like her. Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reid. I read A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid and became obsessed with this author. I definitely have some other books that I definitely need to catch up on her backlist, but the special edition for this one is so stunning, and I just know that like she's really just like beautiful works, so I needed to pre-order it. And this is a sapphic dystopian book. It is pitched as The Last of Us meets Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, which makes me feel like it's gonna rip my heart out. And apparently it has some sort of like deadly assassination trials. It just sounds like it's gonna be like definitely a commentary on society and just be a very interesting book, and I'm excited. Speaking of dystopian, in March we also have Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I've been a Hunger Games fan since I was about 12, so I'm very excited. This is Haymitch's story. You know, what else can I say beyond that? And there's also going to be a subsequent movie. I just know it's gonna rip my heart out. Yeah, so I can't wait. I also have A Wild Side by Elsie Silver, which is the third book in the Rose Hill series. I love Elsie Silver. If she wrote a phone book, I would read it. I think this one follows Tabitha and Reese, and I think her sister dies and she has to like take care of her niece or nephew after that, and like everyone kind of like looks down on her sister because of like the situation that she was in, so she's dealing with a lot of grief. And then I think Reese like gives her a place to live. You know, I'm just going off of the basics that I know, but it's Elsie Silver. I will be reading it. Okay, and last for March we have Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. I'm obsessed with her. I will read anything that she publishes. I don't know if my like first installment of my TBR Cart Diaries is going to be posted at this point in time. I think it is, so go check it out where I caught up. So obviously when this next one comes out, I want to read it and take the heck out of it and just love it. And this was a book that was originally part of like a fantasy anthology, but is completely like set in the Crowns of Nyaxia world, and we're following a priestess who is blinded to like better feel the magic, and she has to go assassinate a vampire lord. Oh my god, it just sounds so good, and I've heard people really love this one, and I'm so excited. I am a little bit sad that they changed it from the character covers, although I get it like fits in with the Crowns of Nyaxia like vibe, like the other cover vibe, but hopefully like that character art is like in the interior somewhere. That will make me very happy. Alright, moving on to April. April is a hard-hitting month, and it's also my birth month, and I'm gonna be turning 30. Just slightly frightening. Okay, first up we have Enchantra, which is the sequel to Phantasma. Phantasma definitely took the book world by storm this year, myself included, and we are following Genevieve, who is the sister from Phantasma. And the series is actually called the Wicked Games series, which I was not aware of. Okay, so basically Genevieve receives this mysterious invitation from a family friend to go to Italy, and she's like, yeah, I want to go to Italy. And so she goes, and when she gets there, the like door slammed in her face, and the son of the family is like, don't come back. And she forces herself in anyways, and ends up that the family is like stuck in this insidious and deadly game of hide and seek. I just like loved the games aspect of the first book, and the characters were good, and I really loved Genevieve, and I really wanted to see more of her, and so I'm so excited for this one, and you bet your bottom dollar it is pre-ordered. I'm so excited. And I've seen like fan art of them, and they're just gorgeous. I can't wait. Next we have Firebird by Juliet Cross, which look at the special edition, look at the edge. And I read The Wraith King by Juliet Cross this year and really liked it. And I read one of her paranormal romance books as well and also really liked that. So I have like good feelings about this one. And it's described as House of Dragon meets From Blood and Ash. So they're just really like going for it. So it's actually set in Rome, but there are dragons, and it's a dragon shifter who shifts into his dragon, and he sees this girl on the battlefield and he's like, she is mine. So it just sounds like an epic yearning romance, which I'm here for. Okay, next is Fearless by Lauren Roberts, which is the third and final book in the Powerless trilogy. I read Powerless this year and I just had so much fun with it. It just reminded me of like why I love YA fantasy, and there's just like a lot of banter, and just it was just so fun. And that is what I'm looking for in this concluding novel. I still have to read the novella and the second novel, but again, I'm aiming to hopefully read those before the last book comes out, or maybe I'll just like wait until right before the last book comes out and just read them all together. I think that I love reading series together, so I think that might be the plan. But yeah, so Powerless, we're following Payton in a world where basically if you do not have powers, you are kind of like considered that you could be like infecting the powerful people, and obviously it's a vehicle for oppression. And so she kind of like lives her life pretending that she has powers, and she fakes it until she makes it basically, and she makes it all the way to these like trials that she has to participate in. And there she gets embroiled in a plot with two princes. It's just YA goodness, YA fun. I loved it, and I really actually I love the cover for the third one. It might be my fave, and I'm very excited to see how this trilogy wraps up. Next, on April 15th, we have Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. I've read all of Lila Sage's books so far, and this is the last book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, which I'll be sad to leave these characters behind, but I'm just loving every single book in this series, and the art is just stunning. And in this one, we're following Cam and Dusty. Cam is a single mother who co-parents relatively well with like the man she had a child with, which was, you know, the main character in Lost and Lassoed. And she is about to like marry this guy for stability that she's not like super into, and then I think she gets left at the altar. And then we have Dusty, who is like her unrequited childhood love, and it's their story, and oh my god, just look at the cover. I'm so excited. I will eat anything up that Lila Sage gives to us. And then last thing in April, Barbarian's Hope by Ruby Dixon. This is the one about where the female main character is also an alien. And this is the one where I am up to in my Ice Planet Barbarians journey. So hopefully this book releasing physically will prompt me to keep reading the series. But yeah, it's Ruby Dixon. It's in the Ice Planet Barbarians world. I automatically am purchasing the book. And I'm just having a lot of fun collecting that series. Okay, now on to May. First, we have Shield of Sparrow by Devney Perry. This is Devney Perry's first foray into fantasy romance, although she does have a lot of contemporary romance that I have read some of, and this is pitched as Cinderella meets The Witcher. So I was like, yes, sold, sign me up, I want it. I pre-ordered it, the sprayed edge, and part of the reason why I pre-ordered it, but it's so beautiful, so I have high hopes for this one. Next, on May 6th, the 8th volume of Lore Olympus comes out. Lore Olympus is a comic that I mostly read on my phone on the Webtoon app, and now they've all been releasing physically, so when they are all released, I want to do like a gigantic reread with the actual books. I think that'll be so much fun, but I love this comic so much, and it is a Hades and Persephone retelling. Okay, next is A Curse Carved in Bone by Daniel L. Jensen, which is the sequel to A Fate Inked in Blood, and I believe that this is just a duology, and it's a, again, a Viking story following Freya, who has this husband that's like terrible, but she's a shield maiden with like this rare magic from a goddess, and basically one of like the warring tribes notices her powers, and she kind of gets like taken by the tribe leader, and something happens between her and the sun, and it was just, I loved like the Viking setting, and so I'm really excited to see how the sequel goes. And then we have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, which Rachel Gillig wrote the One Dark Window duology, and this is her next book. And oh my god, this spread edge is, it's just so beautiful, so beautiful. And again, we're following this, I think she's like some sort of like nun in this world, and this knight comes to their monastery and kind of just turns everything on its head. I'm sad for this one. With a cover this gorgeous, I am sat down, and I need it. And I pre-ordered the Barnes & Noble. That's where this sprayed edge is from, because it's so pretty. It's unreal. Next, on June 17th, we have The Robin and the Oak Throne by K.A. Lind, which is the sequel to The Wren in the Holly Library. Again, this is one that I definitely want to read before that pre-order like kicks in, before it's released, to make sure I really want to continue with this series. But this is like a paranormal romantasy where there are monsters in the world, and Kiersey is gonna like break the treaty to break into a library, so it has again like a magical library. It's paranormal, got monsters. I'm intrigued, and I think I'm definitely gonna like it enough that I'm going to want to continue in the series. But you know, just read the first book just to be sure. And the second book comes out in June, so I have time. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Okay, it's V.E. Schwab, so I'm gonna buy it. I've read pretty much almost everything that she's released so far. I am obsessed with her, and this is Toxic Lesbian Vampires. You need to say no more than that. I am here, I am sad, I am pre-ordered. Okay, crazy, but finally the last book in the From Blood and Ash series, The Primal of Blood and Bone, is being released on June 10th. I think I'm gonna save all of the rest of the books that I have in that series, which is a decent chunk at this point, and read them all for a vlog around when this last book comes out, and I cannot wait. I really am interested to see how this series wraps up. I've had a lot of fun reading it so far, both the original series and the prequel series, and I am just a From Blood and Ash girly, so I can't wait. Next is The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid, and this is a deluxe edition, which this edition is so pretty. Again, I love Ava Reid. I will purchase anything that she releases. I was really excited to see that some of her backlist books are getting the special edition treatment, and it's so stunning. It's so stunning, and this one I think is based on Hungarian folklore, and it's, I think, a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, so I'm excited, and I definitely want to go back and read, you know, her entire backlist. And then the last book I have to talk about is The Love Hypothesis Collector's Edition by Ali Hazelwood. When I saw they were doing an Ali Hazelwood Collector's Edition for The Love Hypothesis, which is just one of my favorite romance books of all time, made me fall in love with Ali Hazelwood, made me fall in love with STEM romance. I was like, automatically add to cart. Automatically add to cart. I'm so excited for this. I can't wait to have it in my collection. I just have such like a deep love for Ali Hazelwood, and it just makes me like giggly to think that I'm gonna have this beautiful collector's edition in my hands soon, especially because a lot of book boxes have done her books and I haven't gotten any of them, so I need it. Okay, that is it for all of my anticipated releases of 2025. I am just like so happy and excited for all these books to arrive to me so I can read them, and I'm just really hoping we have a very good year of reading ahead with lots of romantasy especially. Let me know what your most anticipated book for 2025 is down below in the comments, and leave me a little book stack emoji if you have watched this far, and have some fun, read some books, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.